Wizard, the spellcaster, well, I guess one of the many spellcasters of Baldur's Gate 3. And in this video today, we're going to go through how to build out your wizard. Now, this is either going to be your player character, maybe you're trying to build out Gale specifically, or maybe any of your other companions and generic companions that you decided to respec into wizards. The way I'm going to go through this video is by talking about what that level 1 looks like, going through the race selections, as well as going through your ability scores. Then we'll talk a little bit about subclasses, your feat selections, close the video out talking loosely about some multi-classing options you can do. You can jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters about the timeline in the description. And please don't forget to follow me on Twitch, where I will be streaming Baldur's Gate 3 and plenty of other games. Let's get started here on how to build out your wizard in Baldur's Gate 3. To start us off, we're going to talk about race. Now, of course, with the way that Baldur's Gate 3 works, all ability scores are set to 8, and you design which one you want to have 2 or +1. So all the races are on the same footing for the most part. You'll just be simply being able to get a little bit of a leg up here and there. So please choose the race that fits the roleplay you have in mind for your wizard. Don't feel like you're like, I'm making a half-orc wizard. I feel like that's just not really a good idea. It's actually a pretty good idea because they have the ability to stay alive after they reach 0 hit points. Are there other options that might be quote-unquote better? Sure, but this is a single-player role-playing game. Don't worry about min-maxing. Have fun. But let's go through some options that I think are particularly good over the others. Now, I like half-elves quite a bit because as far as the lore is concerned, I can have a beard. And I personally have a beard. I don't have hair, so I can take advantage of any long hair I can get. But half-elves that specialize as high elves get advantage in that they can choose an additional wizard cantrip at level 1. Cantrips are level 0 spells, meaning that they can be cast every single turn if you want without expending a spell slot. So it's just a nice way to add some additional utility since you already start with 3 cantrips to choose from. This allows you to really get some really good applications here, right? You can get stuff like Blade Ward, Ray of Frost, Bone Chill, Shocking Grasp. You have a lot of really fun options here that you can take advantage of, and then you get a 4th one just because you've chosen High Elf. I really like this. Conversely too, you can just straight up choose to be a High Elf outright and then choose through the proficiency bonuses that you'll get. You're pretty much the same, it's just a difference of different proficiency bonuses right here in your racial bonuses. This is going to give you light armor and shields, spears, pikes, halberds, and glaives. This is going to give you long swords, short bow, and long bow. So it's really up to you. But if you want to go with a smaller race, Halfling is quite a cool choice if you go with Strong Heart. This is going to give you advantage on saving throws against poison and resistance to poison damage, as well as the lucky capability. When you roll a 1 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. So basically any auto fail, you at least get 1 free re-roll out of it, and that's kind of awesome to be able to have. There are some other options you can take, and I'm going to give you some kind of unique ones too. Dwagar is a pretty cool one here because you're going to get Dwagar Resilience to Charm and Poison, and then you'll get your standard Dwarfen stuff, which gives you proficiency with Battle Axe, Hand Axe, Light Hammer, and Warhammer, as well as Resilience to Poison and Poison damage. You also get Dark Vision too. But the cool thing here is you can be this Dwagar Necromancer that uses a huge-ass hammer. So you can have some fun with that. Or you can go into something like a gnome. And maybe I would probably go with, rock gnome. Because this gives me proficiency bonus in history checks. So if you want to be someone that uses history, you can take advantage of that. But you also get gnome cunning. You have advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. So a cool way to kind of spice into this. One of the final ones I want to give you here is Githyanki. I think a lot of people, like, no one chooses the Gith. And I think it's something that people should really test out. I think a lot of people don't choose them because of their penchant for looking like crackheads. Maybe go with a female one. They look far more normal, right? But I'm thinking of a wizard, and a wizard necessarily isn't a big hulking monstrosity. So if you're playing a fighter class, it can be a little bit harder to choose a Gith. But Gith have some really awesome abilities. You have Astral Knowledge, so you gain proficiency. Remember, proficiency right here is your proficiency bonus. So you're getting proficiency bonus in any skill of a chosen ability. What that means is I press this ability, this button, Astral Knowledge, and I want to choose Charisma. So now I get a +2 or whatever my proficiency bonus is. This scales with your level 2, 3, 4 as you go through the game in all charisma based skills. So deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. So if I didn't choose a proficiency in a conversational skill, as a Gith, I always technically have a proficiency in any of the skills. So it's a really nice way to kind of socket things around as I see fit. You start off with a cantrip for Mage Hand, but eventually you will get the cantrip for Enhanced Leap, and you get a cantrip for Misty Step. So you have a lot of mobility as a Gith. And one of the coolest things here too is Martial Prodigy. So you get light and medium armor as a wizard that's a Gith that can also use short, long, and greatsword. You can have a lot of fun with a Gith wizard without even having to go into a fighter subclass if you don't want to. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do here. Well, I mean, you don't have a ton of strength, so don't do that. But still, my point remains that you can have a lot of fun with the Gith, and it's one I think you should definitely take a look at if you're building your wizard out. Now, whether you're Gale, or you're choosing a custom origin for yourself or the Dark Urge, this is entirely going to be on you and what you want to do. Remember, you can choose any of these origin characters and then respec them into the game if you want to, but just wanted to kind of give you a quick heads up. Just choose whichever one makes the most sense for what you want out of your playthrough. Dark Urge is going to be very wild for you, but it's not as bad as, say, playing like a Paladin, where this could possibly break a tenet for you. So if you want to go Dark Urge, go for it. And on top of that too, another one that's going to be entirely up to you, is your background. This is very much dependent upon how you want to play your character and how you want to pull your inspiration from. Are you a wizard that is a sage? And this is not wizard. This is just not wizard at all. Are you a wizard that's a sage? Well, then go ahead and go with that. Or are you a wizard that comes from a noble house? Are you a former criminal, like a hedge wizard of some sort? Are you a folk hero, a guild artisan? Go with what the role play that makes the most sense for you and how it clicks. And if you want a min-max approach here, something like guild artisan or acolyte are particularly good because they give you insight proficiency, meaning that you can then put your points into other things other than insight. Insight and perception are two of the most important skills in the game, in my opinion, and they can really help you out in conversations or finding things across the world. I really like both of those skills. Hopefully that helps you out with your origin and your background. Spells and cantrips are a fun conversation for wizards because wizards, unlike, say, warlocks or sorcerers, do not derive their magic from some sort of innate source or special source. Their spells come from transcribing scrolls. You simply find the scrolls in the game and you transcribe them into your spell book. And every time you level up to every time you level up, you can choose some spells here and you get those added in. These are outside of the spells that you find in the game. Like I can find a scroll of mage armor and then just put it into my spell book, and I never need to put it here. But when you start off, you can choose 6 spells that you learn, and then the amount of spells you can cast is going to be based off of your intelligence score, right? So having a high intelligence score is going to allow us to cast more spells. If you just were to drop this to 10, you'd be able to cast 1 spell. So these spells are all the ones that you can choose right now. If you only choose 6 of these, which you're going to do, you don't get to just swap them out like a cleric or a druid does. You have to actually know the spell or do it here in a level up screen. Here are the ones that I'm just going to go with and choose because I really like them. Magic Missile is really awesome, especially because it's force damage, and you'll eventually shoot more magical darts. And Chromatic Orb can be any element that you choose. This just says thunder damage, but it can be a different one, whichever one you want to swap it off to. And then from there, I'd probably pick up Mage Armor just in the very beginning of the game because it's my armor class to 13 plus my dexterity modifier, which is already 2. So that's just 16 armor right out the gate. But I really like Tasha's Hideous Laughter and Sleep as 2 really good forms of crowd control. You can also use Charm Person as another portion of crowd control. It's quite good. Shield is really good as a reaction because it gives you 5 AC anytime you would otherwise take a hit. It does cost a spell slot, so keep that in mind. But you can use other utility spells like Long Strider, which is nice. And Long Strider lasts until Long Rest, which is really cool. I personally prefer like the Long Strider I think you get from a ranger because it's a ritual spell, meaning it does not take a spell slot. I think that the wizard one does. But Enhanced Leap is a good jumping capability here. There's lots of really fun spells that you can kind of socket into. But I think like these 5 or 4 are really, I'd say maybe those 4 right there are the ones I would take no matter what, and then I would socket in the kind of ones that I would want based off of certain situations I have in mind. Cantrips here, again, remember these are level 0 spells. You can cast them every single turn. It's why being a high elf is particularly good, or a high half elf, because you get 4 cantrips rather than 3 at the start of the game. I like Ray of Frost because it gives you the ability to reduce the target's movement speed. It's a really cool little ability there. Just does a nice little bit of damage out the gate. Bone Chill you can get from a feat, which we'll talk about in a bit. People kind of crap on Blade Ward, but I like it just for taking half damage on things. It's a nice defensive capability. One of the best cantrips, in my opinion, for your main character is Friends, because you gain advantage on charisma checks against a non-hostile creature. Meaning you can use this when you're in conversations to help you get the leg up on a persuasion, a deception, whatever kind of roll it is. And it's a cantrip, so you can just keep casting it every time you need to. Mage Hand is nice for grabbing things if you're not a Githyanki. Firebolt's a nice one if you need some additional fire spell capabilities. Light is actually very useful in this game, especially as you hit Act 2, when you will need light to help you out with certain situations. But I'd probably steer clear of stuff like True Strike. I don't think I'd ever really want to take that one. But those are your options here for your cantrips and spells for Wizard. Moving into a conversation about our ability scores, let's take a look at our intelligence and just maximize that. And of course, that goes without saying, and put it +2. That's going to be our damage modifier. We want that maxed out. Now, our next two stats to really look at are Dexterity and Constitution. Constitution is going to increase our health, and as you can see, we have a piddly amount at only 5. So we want to get that up to 14. And then we have Dexterity. Dexterity is going to increase our initiative as well as our armor class. Remember, our armor class is 10 plus our Dexterity modifier plus any armor if we have any. But we're a wizard, so we don't. We're going to get this to 13, and I'll tell you why. Another important thing, though, with Constitution is that it's also going to help us out with any concentration checks. Take a look at Tasha's Hideous Laughter. This is a concentration spell, meaning if I get hit, the character is then going to have to do a concentration roll, which is based off of their Constitution. So also keep in mind, you can only have one concentration spell up at one time. So if you want to say Tasha's Hideous Laughter, okay, I thought Charm Prism was also one. But Fog, for example, is also a concentration spell. If you have one up, it'll cancel the other. So please keep that in mind. And then we're going to put points into Charisma up to 12, because this is going to help us out with all of our talking points. Persuasion, Deception, Intimidation. It just helps give you that +1 to those modifiers if it's your main character, and put +2 into Wisdom here. This makes it so that our Wisdom is now at least at a baseline of 0. So if we're trying to do Perception or Insight, we at least have that at a 0, so it's not giving a penalty, which is very nice. And then this final +1, we just put it into Dexterity, and that gives us the +2 to our Dex for our AC, and +2 over here for our initiative. So that's what we would allocate it to get 14, 14, 17, 10, and 12. Now, subclasses for the wizard are called schools. You are choosing a school to specialize in. And what this really means here is that learning spells from that school will only cost you 25 gold per spell level, not 50. So a level 2 spell would cost you 100 if you had no specialization in abjuration, but if you have specialization in abjuration, it will cost you 50, right? Or level 3 would be 150 versus 75. So you can see how that kind of plays itself out. The question is, which one of these do you choose? And honestly, it's going to always be down to you. I don't know if I've said that enough, but definitely choose whichever one makes the most sense. And I'm going to go through these very quickly to give you what they are on a high level. I will tell you out the gate that Conjuration and Transmutation are kind of situational, are very niche in that you have to kind of really build into certain mechanics around them. Transmutation really is kind of more about on the alchemy side of things. Your subclass feature is that you can brew 2 alchemical solutions instead of 1 when combining extracts. If you succeed a difficulty check, I almost said class, 15 medicine check. So this is what you would use medicine in conjunction with transmutation to try to get more out of your alchemy capabilities. If you're not doing that, transmutation is really not going to be the best one for you. Also, this learning transmutation spell, blah, 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 same thing, right? And then conjuration helps out with, well, summoning things, kind of. So this, you get your Call Forth Rain. It extinguishes, exposes flames, and forms a water surface. I just don't really like conjuration very much as a whole. There are some cool spells that you can pull from it. You get stuff like Benign Transportation, which gains the ability to transport yourself. And then you get Focus Conjuration at level 10. Damage taken while you are concentrating on a conjuration spell will not break your concentration. Those just are kind of a little lackluster to me, and I don't really like them as much. So I just don't play with them. If you want to, please, by all means, do it. But Abjuration here is going to be really more on the defensive side of things. It's going to make you very tanky. So you get Arcane Ward. The residual magic of your spells forms a ward around you that protects you from harm. This is a nice thing you can have until long rest. You get Projected Ward as well as a reaction at level 6. When a nearby ally takes damage, you can sacrifice your Arcane Ward to reduce the damage that they take. Improved Abjuration at level 10 though. So each time you take a short rest, the intensity of your Arcane Ward is increased by an amount equal to your wizard level. So a lot of fun here with Abjuration. Evocation, I think, is the one that probably is the easiest one to take if you're new to the game in any way, shape, or form, because this makes it easier for you to cast AoE spells. Sculpt spells create pockets of safety within your evocation spells. Allies automatically succeed their saving throws against these spells and take no damage from them. So if you don't really want to deal with the positioning of your spells and you just kind of want to have at it, then using this allows you to make it so that you will never damage your allies, which is very, very nice. Also at level 6, you get Potent Cantrip. Your cantrips become harder to evade entirely. When a creature succeeds a saving throw against one of your cantrips, it still takes half the damage. So your cantrips will always be a nice little boost to you. And then also Empowered Evocation means that you can add your intelligence modifier to damage rolls with any evocation spell. So it's very, very, very nice. Necromancy, I think, is always a fan favorite when it comes to any of the schools of casting. And this is going to be stuff like your Rays of Enfeeblement, but also Animate Dead and what have you. So at level 1, you get Grim Harvest. Once per turn, if you kill a creature with a spell, you regain hit points equal to twice the spell slot level used. Thrice is if it's a necromancy spell. Undead and constructs are unaffected here. So using necromancy spells to basically top off your health is really cool. But at level 6, you get Undead Thralls. So when you gain the Animate Dead spell, if you didn't already have it. You get additional dead, so when you use Animate Dead, you get an additional corpse, and then you get better summons. So creatures created with Animate Dead have additional hit points equal to your wizard level, and your proficiency bonus is added to their damage. At level 6, your proficiency bonus is probably going to be 3. This will eventually become 4 at around level 9 or 10. And that's really, really sick. Then you also get Inured to Undeath. You have steeped yourself so completely in death that you are resistant to necrotic damage and your hit points max cannot be reduced. So those are the benefits there of going with Necromancy. Enchantment here is pretty unique as well, in that you are going to be focusing on enchantment spells, of course. But Hypnotic Gaze is your class action lawsuit. Charm and incapacitate a creature. It cannot attack you. It cannot act. So that is your immediate out the gate capability. Level 6, you get Instinctive Charm as a reaction. You can charm an enemy, which is cool. And then Split Enchantment. You know your enchantments inside and out. You can target 2 creatures with enchantment spells. So a really cool way to get a lot of CC across the board. Enchantment's all about crowd control. Then you have Divination and Illusion as our last 2. But Divination is really good. I think a lot of people kind of regard this as the best one as far as a min-max capability goes because you get Portent. Your dreams grant you glimpses that let you influence the future. After each long rest, you gain 2 random Portent dice. During the day, you can use your reaction to change the dice of any attack roll or saving throw rolled near you to one of your Portent dice. Each Portent die can only be used once, and you lose your unused Portent die at the end of the day. So they're particularly good here, right? You can use roll during a long rest. You remember the roll result like a vivid dream. During the day, you can exchange the die of any attack roll. So basically, you have these die that can always be set numbers if you so wish. But then you get Expert Divination, where you get an extra die at level 6. And you regain any spent Portent die after a short rest. So level 6 is where Divination really kind of pops off here. Then level 10, you can gain Dark Vision or Superior Dark Vision, whichever you need. And also, you can see invisibility without expending a spell slot with Divination. So those are some cool abilities. Our last one here is Illusion. And Illusion's going to be kind of a little bit on the defensive side as well. I mean, because like invisibility or blur, stuff like that. But you'll get minor illusion out the gate as a bonus action, which is pretty cool here. You can remain hidden while casting it if you so wish to do so. At level 6, you'll get see invisibility, and then at level 10, you'll get illusory stealth as a reaction. You can just kind of cast illusion basically on yourself as a reaction. So divination and evocation, I think ones that really stand out as two really strong picks, with necromancy being a really, really fun favorite. Abjuration, enchantment, and illusion fitting into very specific play styles with your wizard, and transmutation, of course, focusing very heavily on alchemy and medicine. When it comes to your feat selection, stuff like ability improvement is just always going to be good. Putting those 2 points into intelligence to really get it up, getting that into 20 with any kind of additional capability that you can is always going to be crucial for you, because this is going to be a lot of the damage you're going to be dealing. But outside of that too, there are some very fun ones you can go with. Warcaster is always good because it gives you a reaction. It weaponizes your reaction, as it were. This gives you the ability to basically cast, well, it doesn't basically, you do cast Shocking Grasp for anyone that moves out of range of you when they're in opportunity range, in that little circle around you, right? But you also gain an advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration on spells, which is always crucial when you're trying to keep concentration up. Having that is a really, really nice to have. Spell Sniper is another really good one here. So you're going to get the ability to critical hit easier. The number you need to roll a crit hit while attacking with a spell is reduced by 1, meaning that rather than 20, it's 19 and 20, and this effect can stack. But you also get an additional cantrip. One of those cantrips is Eldritch Blast, which you cannot select at the beginning of the game. So, if you are a high elf, you've gotten 4 cantrips. Now you get a 5th one, and the 5th one can be Eldritch Blast, which is going to be really fun for you. It's one of my favorite abilities. If you're a warlock, of course, you can make this thing be disgusting, but you can get Bone Chill if you didn't, or Shocking Grasp if you didn't. Thorn Whip is whatever. But I really like that you can just kind of spice into another cantrip to have it do more damage, especially if you're going down the school of evocation. Evocation, I never know which one's the way to pronounce it. But outside of that, you have tons of other little things you can go into. You get like Ritual Caster, blah, 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 blah. But the Magic Initiate abilities are always nice to pick up more cantrips from something that is not what you currently have. I mean, you can go into Wizard if you want and go into more Wizard things, but you can grab some stuff from Sorcerer and Warlock and Druid and Cleric and Bard because you're already a casting character. But one of the better ones too on this list as well is Elemental Adept. Now, one thing too I didn't talk about in any of these videos so far is Lucky. This is a really good one. You gain 3 luck points, which you can use to gain advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws, or to make an enemy reroll their attack rolls. Why I'm going to talk about it here on Wizard is you are made of paper. So if something gets close and personal and wants to do a ton of damage, having the ability to re-roll their attack is always kind of nice when it comes to saving against it. That way you can just try to not die. But Elemental Adept helps out a ton with damage because you are choosing a specific element to then ignore the resistance of. In addition, when you deal thunder damage, for example, with a spell, you cannot roll a 1. So you can never hard fail or critically fail a casting of a spell. Those are some examples of particularly good feats that you can choose. There's also stuff like, like Alert if you want initiative bonuses and can't be surprised, and plenty of other ones. Don't feel like you're shoehorned into the ones that I just spoke about, because there are definitely other ways that you can approach your feat selection for wizards. So as we talk about what the wizard looks like going forward, one of the big things I want to talk about too is Arcane Recovery. Replenish spell slots while out of combat. You cannot restore spell slots above the 5th level. And this will scale every couple of levels. You get 1 at level 1, then the strength increases at levels 3, 5, 7, 9, and 10. 9 and 11, so pretty much every 2 levels. So the number and level of spell slots the Arcane Recovery action can restore. You cannot restore spell slots above the 5th level. So this allows you to kind of have a leg up on some of the other casters that just have free run of all of their capabilities. And then also too, this is your spellbook like I was talking about. This is where all of your spells reside. You can press this button and just simply select all of the spells that you can learn, right? Like I cannot currently learn level 5 spells, so I cannot click this over here. But you can just click all the ones that you need and then just press learn, or right click on them and press learn, whichever one makes the most sense for you. So leveling up each level of your wizard, you're just going to notice that you don't get a whole ton of different things. Everything is going to pretty much be the same with every single level. You're just getting access to more and more spells, more and more levels of spells, and what have you. And that's really the important thing here. What you want to know is at level 5, you get access to your 3rd level spells. At level 7, you get access to your 4th level spells. Level 9 is your 5th level spells, and finally level 11 is what grants you access to your 6th level spells. Outside of that, you're going to get your subclass features and just, again, more access to more spells. And remember, these spells too, you'll be able to find the game world if you do not choose them here, so don't worry about them. And you'll get access to more spells that you can actually prepare and access to more cantrips. So those are nice little ditties to have as you kind of push through this. And I'm just kind of showing you that we're not getting something like an extra attack or a bonus action thing or a this or a that. We're mainly just getting access to more spells and then eventually like feats here, right? Like Spell Sniper, we'll go ahead and pick that up just for the sake of the video. And there we are. I mean, so we're at level 8. So we have a total of 11 prepared spells here with access up to level 4 that we can take advantage of. That's how you would progress through the wizard, is pretty much just leveling up and getting more of what you already do. It's not, again, like I've mentioned here quickly, with fighter, like you get an extra attack or you get access to channel divinity or your sacred oaths and stuff like that at certain hallmark levels for paladin or cleric or something of the sort. So wizard multiclassing is very interesting in that it's different than the way it is in 5th edition. In 5th edition, your spell slot allotment or your spell circle allotment or a level allotment is based off of the individual level of that class. But in this game, if I start with wizard, I can go to level 11 in any of the other casting classes: cleric, druid, paladin, ranger. I'm sorry. Cleric, druid, sorcerer, whatever. And I'll still retain the ability to go all the way up to level 6 spells. So you can consider that if you so wish, but then you're going to split how your spells are cast, because wizard is the only really real intelligence-based caster. The rest are wisdom-based. So you can kind of get around this using a item in the game, which sets your intelligence to 17, allowing you to have the ability to cast far more wizard spells, in addition to then casting cleric and druid spells if you so wish. So if you want to take that route, you definitely can. You can then go with like the knowledge domain here, which plays really well with being a wizard. Or you can go Tempest domain and take advantage of the subclass feature that allows you to do max damage of any lightning or thunder damage spell that you use, meaning that you can just kind of naturally do a ton of damage with your wizard. So you do have those options open to you. Personally, I think wizard is one of the ones that you can just go pure wizard and be totally fine. I don't think you really need to subclass to get a ton of usability out of it. Consider, though, that you can go 10 wizard and 2 levels into fighter, because then as that, you get action surge from fighter, and you can then use plenty of additional actions on your wizard. There's another route you can take too, with just simply going into Eldritch Knight instead of wizard. Like if you want to be kind of a wizard that fights in melee combat, I probably would think that you would want to just go Eldritch Knight, because you get the ability to go 12 levels into Eldritch Knight and you get 3 extra attacks. Well, you'll get extra attack twice basically, and it's just so good by comparison to trying to split the difference between wizard and fighter in some sort of interesting kind of combination. So the multi-class conversation for wizard here is kind of a little thin, and I didn't want to show all the items here to make that situation for the 17 intelligence occur, because I figured it might have been spoilers. But it is in Act 2 in the Blighted Village. That's all I'll say, and you can get it there. And if you want, I can link a link to it. You can click that if you wanted to get a good readout of where to pick that item up. But that's how you would really do this. You'd go one level into wizard, the other levels into the other classes, to then pull in a bunch of other spells, so you have just tons and tons at your disposal from either a cleric or a druid or what have you. That's how that multi-classing would work for a wizard. But that brings our video here to a close. Hopefully this helps you out in building out your wizard in Baldur's Gate 3. And if you have any questions, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comments section below. I hope this kind of gives you a kind of a spoiler-free approach to this whole thing. But there are a ton of other little nuances to this that I didn't want to divulge, because I want you to kind of stumble into them and discover them in your playthrough. This is, again, after all, a beginner's guide. If you have any recommendations or anything like that for anyone else starting a wizard character, hey, you know what, I've played wizard for years in D&D, or maybe I've gone through my first playthrough as a wizard, and these are the spells and cantrips that I found to be particularly useful or feats, please let it be known in the comment section below. Trying to disseminate as much information out to the people is always a big mission of mine. But as always, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.